So DOM methods, each item in the DOM tree is going to be known as a node. Um, so any of the objects, they can be accessed using the JavaScript DOM methods. And you can also use JavaScript to manipulate an HTML element with a DOM method. And one of the statements you guys will be using this week is the if-else statement. This is a common JavaScript statement. It's used within a function. What it does is it assesses a specific condition. So it says if the condition is true, a specific block of code is going to be executed. If that condition is false, if it does not exist, a different block of code is executed. jQuery is a JavaScript library. It's a commonly used library, a JavaScript library that can significantly reduce the amount of code and time that's needed to complete a web project. Okay, so now we're going to start off looking at your project for Chapter 10. And as JavaScript is a new concept, we will walk through this project together here. All right, so the first thing I do is I need to make sure that I bring my files in from the starting documents. So I'm going to click the three dots and go to new directory, new file, and I'm going to upload the file. And I will upload the documents, and I'm going to make sure I extract these. Okay, so now all of my documents are in my music folder. Okay, so the first task I've got here is add the following comment and nav element above the header element on all HTML files in the music folder. So I'm going to open up each one of these, and above the header element, I'm going to add this code here. To create a navigation for mobile devices. And make sure I select everything. Okay, let me open up a file here. All right, so we're going to look for the head element. We'll see the header. And from in here, we're going to paste this navigation, and we'll do this in each HTML file. Let me copy this again. Paste this information in, and we've done this in the contact. We'll now go into the index, the instructors, all right, so now we're going to test this task. And we pass that. Next one is going to apply the tab-desk class to the nav elements below the header element for all HTML files in the music folder. So in this case, we're just going to be adding a class to the nav section. To this section here. And we're going to do this once again to all of the HTML files. And just make sure you put it on the right nav, the one that comes after the header. And we'll draw a check on this. So far we've added mobile navigation and we've added a class. Now the next step says in the mobile styles rules section, add the menu links as another selector to the tab.dash style rule with the declaration that sets the display to none. Okay, so we're going to go into our CSS and I'm going to close these HTML files out and open our CSS styles. And in here, we're going to look for the mobile style rules. And we're going to add a menu links as another selector in the tab.desk style rule. And we're going to set the display declaration to none. So I'm going to add this in as another selector. So we've got the tab desk. So I'm going to put a comma and then add the menu links to the selector as another selector. So run a check and that's passed as well. So we'll move over to page 2. So in this case, we're going to add the following style rule below the nav style rule and the mobile style rules section. So we're going to add a mobile.nav a mobile nav a dash dot menu icon and so forth. All this will be added in. So we see our styles for the navigation area. We see our nav background. So we're going to add this below the nav selector, the style rule. So make a copy. I'm going to paste this and run the check. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the nav UL selector to the tablet media query. And I'm going to put it below the comment for the tablet nav area style rule. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this using Control X. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the comment for the tablet nav area style rule. So here's the media query for tablet viewport. All right, so I found the style rules for the nav area. So I'm going to place my code there. Also, it says the mobile style rule selection. I'm going to delete the style rule for the nav LI, the list items. I'm going to delete the padding section. First, let me delete this. I'm going to delete this padding. So let me delete this. So go back through this again. I'll move the style rule for the nav UL to the tablet viewport, the tablet media query. So in the mobile styles rules section, I've just made a mistake. And deleted in the wrong section. I'm going to paste back that information. I'm going to scroll back up to the correct area in the mobile styles instead of the tablet styles. Okay, so in this section, I'm going to delete the nav list item. And in the nav lib A, I'm going to delete the padding. And I'm going to take the rest of this and I'm going to move it back down to the tablet for the nav list item A. Which I've already placed here when I copied the code back over. So I want to make sure I delete this empty space here afterwards. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is in the mobile styles rule section, I'm going to add the following declarations to the H1 or the header H1 style rule. So I'm going to add the font size as 1.5, padding at 4%, and then the margin right set at 15%. So once again, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back up to the mobile rules section. And in the header H1, I'm going to add those styles. Then we'll run a check on this. And we've passed. The next step says in the mobile tablet query, add a mobile.nav as another selector in the .mobile style. Rule with the declaration that display sets the display to none. So let's look for the the tablet media query. So we'll scroll down. All right, so we have the media query for the tablet viewport, tablet desk, and then we have our mobile. So in here we're going to add the .mobile-nav. So we add a comma, our code, and we've added it as another selector and set the display to none. All right, so the next rule is looking for the comment tablet viewport style rule for header content, which we see is located right underneath this. So the next step, and we see in there we have our span.tab desk set display inline, and in here we're going to create a new style rule for the header H1 selectors. It's going to set the margin and padding to 0 and the font size to 2 EMs. So we place this in our document, in our CSS. So we've got the header H1, margin set to 0, padding set to 0, and the font size set. Okay, so then we can close our styles because now we're going to move into JavaScript. So it says open the music folder, which we have open, and we're going to create a new subfolder named scripts. So we come to our 3 dots, choose new directory. We're going to name this scripts and click create. Now inside of this, we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it scripts.js. And then on top of that, we're going to add the comment that includes our name, the file name, and today's date. So we'll create a new file. I'm going to name it script.js. Create the file. And so in here, we need to add our comments. I'm going to add my name to this. File name I've put in already, and the date. And we'll run a check on this. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is we're going to create a function. And we're going to walk through the function as we create this. Now, once I said, again, I said it's always a good idea to comment what the function is. So in here, I'm going to start on line 7, and I'm going to put a comment in saying this is a hamburger menu function. And so I'm just going to copy this code and place into the function. Okay, so now we see that we define this as a function and we give it the name of hamburger. Okay, so then we define it, we route our functions this way. All right, so then here we got a variable of menu, and it's set to the document get element by ID, the menu links. Then we're going to an if-else statement. So we're saying if the menu.style.display is blocked, then the menu style display is going to be set to none. Else we're going to display it to block. So we've created the JavaScript file. So now we've got to link this file into our HTML documents. So we're going to add a script element with the SRC attribute that's going to link to the JavaScript file. And we put this above the closing body tag in all of our HTML files within the music folder. So we're going to open up each one of these HTML documents, scroll down to the bottom until we see the closing body tag, and we're going to put a link in. So we're going to have a script tag, and within the heading of that script tag, that open script tag, we're going to place the SRC, and then we're going to link it to the JavaScript file that is stored in our scripts folder, and the file name is script.javascript or .js. So we're going to do this to each one of our documents. Now, once you write this out once, feel free to copy and paste this, or any information that you can copy and paste. It will save you a lot of time. And also, it helps if you're copying and pasting not to have a typo. We'll run a check now that we've copied this into our HTML documents. All right, so now we see that the mobile navigation area is displayed when clicking the hamburger button. So we're going back to our styles sheet, and we're going to add a new decoration of the nav list item, anchors hover style rule that applies a transform with a value of scale to 1.2. So let's first look at let me close all of these HTMLs. We'll leave the index open. And we're going to look at the index in our browser. And I didn't want to do that. So I want to, at this point, look at the index in the embedded browser. I can see that we do have the hamburger menu placed there. Okay, and it will navigate to the correct website or the correct web page. Okay, so we still got to add the style rule. So I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to close index for now and open up my styles. So I'm looking now for the desktop media query. So I'm going to scroll down. So I have my media query for my desktop viewport. Now in here, I'm going to add a new decoration to the nav list item anchor hover. Then I'm going to add a transform, and I'm going to put it at a scale of 1.2. All right, so once again, I'm going to look at my wrong folder, my index. Expand this here. So now I've added a transform value to my navigation. So let me take that back out for a second. And let me refresh this. Can you see how that hover is not fully covering the areas? When I place that back into as you see now that I have scaled the hover rule. So that's a way you can use CSS for interactivity and to change items in your web page, and how you can apply JavaScript to your website as well.